Hello, welcome to Two Mic Minimum. As some of you might know, Sean and I were in San Antonio to do some shows and interview some comedians, and that trip was made possible by Mind Twist Comedy. Mind Twist Comedy is a comedy production company that produces shows all over Texas, most notably the Teachers Gone Bad comedy shows. It is run by Irma Linda Ruiz, who is a comedian we have interviewed for this podcast. Mind Twist Comedy is also the official comedy booker for Kickapoo Casino in Eagle Pass, Texas. Please check out their website, mindtwistcomedy.com. You can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can send EPKs to mindtwistcomedy@gmail.com, or you can say a hello email or just one of your shows email. But you can also check out their website for their shows. They do a lot of shows in San Antonio, but they do shows all over Texas. So if you're in Texas and you want to know where a good comedy show is, definitely check out Mind Twist Comedy. Anyway, enjoy this episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to
Two Mic Minimum.
We're here with our series, our very special
Our
series,
San Antonio series of guests.
And with us this episode is
San Antonio comedian,
the very funny
host of the BarbacoaCore podcast.
Yes,
Mr.
Patrick C. Huerta.
Wow, we fucked that up so fucking hard.
Wow,
I thought we were in the right mood and we weren't.
We've done a podcast for 3 months and we've not become more insane.
We've actually gotten further apart doing this podcast.
That's true. That's very true. Stuff has divided us. But anyway,
Patrick, welcome to the podcast.
What is up, everybody?
Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thanks for doing this. Yeah,
we
thanks
just
for coming
did your
out.
podcast. We'll give people a little peek behind the curtain. So
Yeah.
we're gonna try not to repeat ourselves too much.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's very funny. Like, y'all didn't bring this energy to my podcast, and then you're like, "What is up, everybody?" I'm like, "Oh
No,
shit,
no.
y'all could do this the whole time."
I'm going right back into feet up in just 2 seconds. Like I bring the energy for the first 30 seconds, and then
Yeah.
I'm back to I fucking hate
no,
this.
I'm for it, man. Like, I'm high energy up top, and then I'm just like sluggish after.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's what's gonna happen. Is really like, but anyway. So, forgive me because I didn't get your bio before we started. But you're the host of the BarbacoaCore podcast. Anything else we should know?
no, yeah. Host of the BarbacoaCore podcast. That I usually. It's supposed to be talking to local San Antonio artists, but it's mostly focused on comedians because that's just a circle I run in.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the Big Berry podcast to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I started the podcast maybe like 2 years, and then I started doing comedy about a year and a half. And yeah, that's all I do.
That's fair. A year and a half ago. And have you been a San Antonio native your entire life?
Yeah, born and raised. I did try to leave for a while because in a past life I was trying to be a rock star.
Fuck yeah.
So I played drums, a retired drummer, I guess. So I moved to Austin for a bit because they have they're the music capital of Texas or the world, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was rough. A lot of pretentious people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's changed since then. And then I had the opportunity to move to Seattle. And all since I was a kid, I was always into like the Seattle music scene, like Tad and Nirvana and Soundgarden and stuff.
Grunge scene.
Grunge scene, yeah.
The 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit older. So yeah, I was very into grunge and stuff. So I had the opportunity to move to Seattle. And so I lived up there for like 10 years. Moved back and forth every now and then from San Antonio to Seattle, and then been back for the past 10 years, and then picked up comedy.
Yeah. So what made you get into comedy here?
Well, like I said, I was in bands before, so I always had the want to be on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, trying to be in bands and stuff, you have to rely on other people, with their schedules and all that stuff. And my schedule was pretty much wide open because I'm married, but we don't have any kids, which is great. But everybody else just started getting busy, And I had the ambition, like, do all these projects. Like, we wanted to record albums, want to go on tour, and everybody's like, cool, but no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And before that, like, I was always into comedy. Like, growing up, I was either watching MTV or watching Comedy Central. And with comedy, I always thought those people were just actors. Like, everybody wrote for them, and then they went to perform and all that stuff. And then realizing that it is all on one person, and like one person can write and then perform and do all that stuff. I realized that was something that I was interested in. I didn't think it was something that I could do myself. And then in 2000, I saw Ralphie May live.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, when he was alive.
You just saw his corpse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone was doing the voice for Ralphie May's corpse.
Yeah.
All of his best bits.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time that I saw comedy live, like in person and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was back in like 2000. And just the way that he controlled the room was fucking like amazing, man. Like, he had those people, like, he was like conducting the audience, like, this is where you laugh, this is where you shut the fuck up. And seeing that live is different than like comedy specials or records and all that stuff that you heard before. Like, you're like, fuck, it was just mind blowing to see how people could do that. So then fast forward to when I retired from playing drums, I still had an itch to do something like creative. And so that's why I started the podcast. And then through the podcast, I met other comedians, and then started checking out open mics, and then started doing open mics. And then from there, I just got addicted to it.
What was the first open mic you did?
The first open mic I did was at a place called Martini Ranch here in San Antonio. It was PWA, and forgive me if I get it wrong. It's Poetry Without Apologies. So it was a poetry variety mic. And I was doing this thing at the time where I was sober. And so I was like, oh, like, I have all this energy to do other things. And so I signed up, nervous as fuck, and then went up, and the crowd just were with me, like, they were laughing. And I was like, oh, shit, this is going pretty good. And I even said that. And some guy in the back is like, because we're drunk.
That's the best answer I've ever heard. That's the best heckle I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's really bringing you down to reality.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's great. So I was on a high from that one, and then I went to another open mic the next day at a place called Tucker's. I don't think they're open right now.
It sounds like a massage parlor
Yeah.
for hand jobs.
Tuckers.
Tuggers?
No, Tucker's.
Oh, Tuckers.
Yeah,
I thought
no.
it was like
Yeah.
Tuggers, yeah.
Yeah, that's too on the nose.
I mean,
Yes, and then the second open mic, I bombed like crickets. And so I quit for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then I was just like very depressed and like mad because I really wanted to do this. Like, I was writing for months and months before I even went up. And I was like, I'm just going to give up like that. And then, so after a couple weeks, I got back into it, and then I haven't stopped since. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that there's an old adage where it's like, every rock star wants to be a comedian, and every comedian wants to be a rock star. So I think that kind of lines up with you nicely.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about like, oh, I couldn't deal with the pretentiousness, and then you went into comedy, which is full of pretentiousness.
Yeah.
I don't think comedy's full of pretentiousness, because I think that gives an air of like, like I think comedy is more of just like full of selfness. Like, not, I know that's similar, but I think it's different.
I mean, no artistic community, whether you're actor, writer,
there's always some guy that thinks he's better than everyone else.
Yeah, and there's communities of that, and you just got to navigate it, focus on yourself, and
Yeah, I never realized how serious comedians are. Like, they're really like about like they take themselves a little bit too serious for comedy.
Yeah.
But that's just what you got to deal with,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you do comedy, you have to have some narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, you're literally saying, let me get on stage, all of you be quiet while I talk, and I make you laugh.
It's like the most aggressive thing an artist can do.
And it's like, no, this is all me.
This is me, and you're going to sit there, and you're going to love this.
Yeah. Comedy's nice, though,
really.
because, like you said, there is no real overhead. It's just, because it is just you, because like, you're like, oh, you just show up, and they have the microphone you get to use, and like, bam, no money and no overhead to that.
And unfortunately, like, I'm turning into those people that I was like, man, what the fuck is their deal? And now I'm the same way. Like, don't talk to me. I don't know you.
I totally feel that when it's just like, you see someone on their phone, or you see someone leave during your set, and you're like, man, but it's comedy. I thought we were supposed to be supporting each other. And then eventually you do so many open mics that you're just like, Dude, I've seen you perform this before. I've seen you. I know what you do. You're not ready.
The best is like when Peter and I are doing it, I'll start mouthing their jokes back to them while they're on stage. Because I'm like, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Well, you actually one time like were going through your set.
Yeah, in my
head,
head while I was ignoring our friend Jimmy.
but you were speaking it out loud involuntarily.
Oh yeah, I'm a crazy person. It's fine.
And Jimmy called you out for that, and you were like,
Yeah,
oh.
I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, we're talk about getting pegged again, Jimmy.
No, I have those tendencies too, where like usually I do it when I'm alone, but maybe sometimes I'll slip when I'm around other people. Where like I think of a good joke idea and I like kind of like mumble it to myself.
Yeah, like, let me focus
like,
on my thing.
This will be good.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your joke writing process a little bit?
Joke writing, I still haven't like really got a good process yet. Like I tried doing pen to paper, and I get carried away so fast that I just scribbling. A lot of the stuff that I do is on my phone, which is bad because I'll be writing on my phone and I'm gonna like, oh, let me go to Facebook or let me go to like something else.
Yeah.
But that's usually what I do. I do the writing on the phone, and then before my sets, I'll write it out like kind of a list or kind of like a blueprint of what I want to do. And then after doing that for a while, it just became like when I get on stage, it's just like I'm reciting something, and it kind of like took me out of it. So now I just do like bullet points, and I always bring a set list, which I know isn't like, people kind of frown upon it. Like, why you have a paper? Like, be in the moment. So I'll just do like bullet points and then just riff on that, like when I'm on stage. And then I always record all my sets and listen back, and then like try to like do some tags and stuff. But I'm still trying to perfect the writing process. I'm not happy with my writing process. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, like, you're never not writing is the way I look at it. Because every day, like I always find new tags if I'm telling the same jokes over and over again. Because like sometimes they apply to different scenarios, you know. Like last night at the Blind Tiger, I just used some different words into my jokes because I'm like, this just makes more sense to say in San Antonio than it does in New York.
Yeah, you kind of fix your act on stage depending on how you're feeling in that certain time. You have like a give and take with the audience. Like what the audience gives you is always going to affect how you perform, and it'll change how you go about doing certain jokes.
Are y'all pen to paper dudes?
I use my phone predominantly, but then I type it out on my laptop.
Oh yeah,
when I jokes I have I just call it my basic hypothetical ideas where I'm like right now I just have one. It's called Wingmans, and I'm trying to find how I'm going to take it, and then I type it out on my laptop for safekeep.
Patrick, dude, I have one of my notebooks out right now, and I have like 5 notebooks. I have like.
level of notebooks,
just a lot of notebooks. Yeah, but no, I'm a pen and paper dude. If I don't have my notebooks, I'll write stuff down on my phone. But I'll always I don't keep stuff on my phone. I like the idea of pen and paper. I think the idea.
I will say the one big thing for me is that my phone died earlier this year.
Yeah,
and I didn't back most of my stuff up. It was literally in the process where it's dying, where like the battery, so it only had a certain amount of framing left. So I had to just screen cap like all like these half portions and then just save it to my cloud.
Yeah,
but I still lost just like a ton of my jokes. So
yeah, that's
pen and paper.
That's like the biggest tragedy of your life.
That's happened to me too. I had to do a factory reset on my phone. And I had to back up the notes, and I lost all that shit.
Yeah, it is a devastating feeling.
No,
literally the other day, I've just been started to recall some of my jokes. I'm like, oh yeah, that was funny. Because I'm like, I forget everything I say all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed too. Is that if you know what a good trick is if you're not sure if something is funny, you should just like don't touch it for a long time. Just forget about it, and then when you go back and you look at it, and you're like, what was this? And then you read it, and then if it makes you laugh, like it's going somewhere. Or if you read it and you're like, what did I write? Then, it's not that. That's what I've noticed going through my old jokes. Like once I forgot, I'm like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Oh, this is funny. I should bring this back, give it its own comeback tour.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so you've been doing comedy in San Antonio for a year and a half. What do you like about it? What do you think is special about it? That's fair. That's your
man.
opinion.
I actually do love it, and I hate how much it's time consuming, and I enjoy the process. And then if I have a bad set, I'm just like, I wasted my whole year and a half like doing all this stuff. It's great connecting with people. It's great when people give you like feedback, audience and other comics and stuff. And but yeah, it is a roller coaster for sure. I actually started therapy.
And we fucked up real bad. We are such bad little boys.
Sean does not clear his SD card.
All right, I can't help that I record myself masturbating every time I do it, and there's millions of hours on my SD card.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, that's gross.
I felt that bit dying as soon as you said masturbating.
I don't know. Like,
I
couldn't say sex.
Anyway,
people would know it's a lie.
We're here with our great guest, Patrick C. Huerta, who was just talking about going to therapy.
Yeah.
That's where you guys heard it off. So,
Yeah.
Pat, you don't mind getting back into it.
It's great because we didn't realize until like maybe 10 minutes in, and I started crying a little bit. And
It was so emotional.
it was really good. I don't know if I could recreate that again, but I would try.
Yeah, like a Shakespearean performance by
Yeah.
Patrick. Really.
Yeah. So here we go again. Therapy. So I think what we figured out that we left off with the San Antonio comedy scene, and I said that.
Yeah, we'll just do. I guess we'll do like a 2-second recap. You talked about your experience in therapy, how it got you into comedy. Like
Is that what happened? I thought you said
I did comedy first before.
Comedy first, and then you started doing therapy.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, now I get up like 4 times a week, and then I asked, well, how do you? Yeah, that was. Fuck. This is.
What else about San Antonio that you like?
So I think I don't know if we covered this, but like I do like it's small.
Yeah.
So the community is like everybody knows everybody. Like everybody's familiar with everybody now. Like they've seen each other at various mics and stuff. So that you can kind of tell who's working on it and who's really just coming out like on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night. So you know who to kind of like cling to or kind of go to for advice, or maybe like book a show with them, and then build friendships on that. So yeah, I try to go up at least 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for San Antonio. Like we don't have a lot of options for stage time, and I hope we're not repeating ourselves on this. But yeah, like if you can find a 1 mic or maybe 2 mics a night. But that's
2 mics minimum.
It. Yeah, 2 mic minimum. So it's good. It's fun. I try to get up as much as possible. But yeah, this is kind of rough to get back into.
Yeah.
I know it is a little.
So yeah, just go back.
Let's do a refresher.
Let's
I
get
guess.
back into let's just get back into like where you go and like describe the places.
Okay, I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So yeah, on Mondays they have a mic in Cibolo, which is right outside of Texas, called the Old Main. And that's run by Joey Smith. He runs the Old Main and he runs the Bar House in Shirts. And that's on rotating Mondays. And those are great because, it's good and bad. It's an outside mic, an outdoor mic, which is rough with with the weather. Mm-hmm. But it's good because you could definitely try out new stuff there. And the audience, I mean, whether they've seen it before, whether,
they're aware it's an open mic.
They're aware of the open
it's
mic.
either going to be, a act, or there might be some hidden gem.
Yeah, the expectations are very low there, which is my favorite thing to like for Monday.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday they have the LOL mic, which is always stacked. There's a lot of people.
And that's hosted by Irma, or was
it? LOL is hosted. They do a showcase at 8:00. That's usually hosted by Jerry.
Sorry, I was thinking about Elbow Room. You said LOL, right?
Yeah,
LOL Tuesday. Yeah, we got
LOL Tuesday. We're on
alternating mics on Monday.
Yeah.
LOL Tuesday. Elbow Room Wednesday.
No, Elbow Room's Tuesday. Like Tuesday is the only time you could probably do 2 mics, if you're lucky. And then Wednesday they have Oak Hill Taverns, which is out in the medical center area, and that's pretty cool. Usually the list is short, and you could do 3 minutes there. And sounds cool. I don't do that one too much because that's usually the night that I do my podcast.
Right.
And sign up is like at 9 or 8:30, and then the show's like at 9. But if I don't have a podcast, I usually go and check that one out at Oak Hills Taverns. Mm-hmm. Thursday is the Jokester 22 mic, which it was one of my favorites. I loved that bar. I loved that room. But as y'all saw, that was the one that y'all got to witness. There's a lot of people that just go out there just because it's a Thursday night, Friday Eve, knock around type of thing. Like, let's go do open mic for funsies, you know. And that's great. I mean, it is fun. Like,
slay,
Queen,
slay, queen with those pussy jokes,
girl.
I didn't witness what y'all saw, so I'm very interested to see what y'all thought about those people because I got up second and then
bounce smartly. Yeah, that's the move.
I mean, that's
my move. I get up early. I'm out.
I mean, I talked about this with Sean. Like when after like 7 people at Jokesters, we were just like, you know, like in terms of like the people, the jokes, the vibe, it's not much different than
really
what happens in New York City, you know. And I kind of like was feeling like, okay, we're gonna go to Texas. Maybe there's some difference in what people respond to humor wise or what people write about. But it's like, no, it's just
turns out funny is funny.
Funny is funny.
That really is the case.
Even though I'm not saying that there isn't something unique about people who are here. I mean, there's definitely some sort of influence in terms of that experience, but it wasn't like we weren't going to a mic where it's just like a bunch of 40-year-old dads in longhorn cowboy hats. And
that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted everybody to be wearing 10-gallon hats, like snakeskin boots. They bring a horse to the mic. Like that's what I wanted.
Got 2 holsters with like pistols from the 1800s.
I got 2 guns, one for each of yous.
Yeah, we definitely have a stereotypical view of this place.
Well, I mean, they come to New York. What do they expect out of us? They just have a lot of pizza, paisanos.
I'm walking here.
Pretty much. So yeah, I mean, Jokesters 22 is fun, but like I said, like there's a lot of people who are hobbyists, and that's pretentious of me to say like,
But you take this seriously. That's why we're talking to you.
Yes,
we know plenty of hobbyists too. Like I think it's a fun hobby too. But like we want to succeed at this.
Yeah,
and like that's what makes us different. We're putting in the time.
Yeah,
I could have gone to med school.
Could you have?
I applied myself, sure.
All right. I mean, I don't know. There's other easier things in medical school where you can have success. I mean, so my plan, if I like want to give up on anything artistic wise, my plan is to, you know, I'm good at math. I have a mathematical background. I want to go to coding boot camp, do that for 3 months, and then come out with the 6-figure salary.
A coding boot camp?
Yeah, so those exist. So like for people who want to learn code and like really quickly, it's very rigorous. You got to be really good at it. It's probably like a couple of grand to do. But if you go to like a really good one, like a accredited one, you can probably get a 6-figure job very easily.
What makes it boot camp though?
You just do it every day for like 10 hours or something. I think it's like yeah. But like no, that's like my plan. It's like I either got to be happy or I got to make a lot of money. Like that's
I want to do both. I want to be happy and make a lot of money.
Well, yeah, no, both would be great. But like it's like if I mean. If I'm just gonna be, if I realize like, oh, I'm doing art and I'm miserable doing it, I'm not getting any better.
It's definitely better to make money though than maybe happy, because money you can buy your happiness.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. When I lived in Seattle, most of the happiest people of the friends of mine were the poor ones. Like they just didn't give a fuck. They lived like paycheck to paycheck. You know, they worked at bars. They had nothing. They lived in a warehouse with like 10 other people.
Right.
And they were so fucking happy.
See, the problem
I think
is
you need to have that attitude to be like, yeah, I'll live with 10. Like I fucking hate too many people to live that life. I want to live alone with just like 7 cats.
So like the problem is that like just for where like I come from, we come from like the very like privileged exclusive suburbs, and like people I grew up with, like they took their lives very seriously. Like they kind of are aware of their privilege and try to take advantage of it as well as possible. Like they all, like everyone I went to high school with, like they all got into like a really good college. Like they worked really hard for it. Like they've planned their lives so carefully in a way that I don't think is replicated in a lot of other places in the country. And I'm like, fuck, man, I should have been doing that my entire life. But no, as of now, I'm happy, you know.
As of now. You're young. You'll be unhappy very soon, I guarantee.
We are young.
See, I always love that when like older people. They
have been calling us so young this weekend. Like,
well, because we are.
We're 25. You know, I've lived a life. I've been to Europe.
You realize everyone we've talked to is married and has kids.
That's
you
true.
don't have kids, but everyone else we've talked to has kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll talk to older people too, like Larry Garza. He's been in the game for a while.
We should have gotten like a 22-year-old down here.
Yeah, well, actually, how about I ask you that, because we were talking about it a little bit when we were dealing with the SD card issue, is what's like the ratio of ages in this scene? Is it mostly like older folks, or is it a mix between younger and older folks?
It's a lot of young people, especially like with the open mics, because like people like I said, I'm 36, 37-ish. 37? 82. I was born in 82.
Yeah.
It's 37.
Like they've been in the game for a while, so they only go to open mics when they're working on something, or if they have like a big show coming up and stuff. Like they're already like in their lane type of thing. So the open mic scene, they're a lot younger, like mid-20s and stuff. And at first, like I was like, what are all these young kids like? They haven't really lived
life.
Like, what are they talking
That's fair.
about?
That's fair.
You know, like I've traveled. I lived in different places. Like I was living a whole completely different life. Like trying to be a rock star. Like couch surfing, living in my car, like sleeping in Walmart parking lots. You know, on tour, losing money. So like that's living, or that's what life experience, you know, gives you, whatever. So all these people, like the young kids, I'm like, man, like what are y'all fucking doing? Like what are y'all gonna talk about? But I mean,
the answer is porn. They mainly talk about porn.
Yeah, they can still be funny, but yeah, a lot of the crowd's like a lot younger. So I mean, that's just what it is, you know, mid-20s. I'm real bad at determining people's ages, like Joey Smith. Let me shit on him again. I thought he was in his 30s. I mean,
Listener of the podcast, Joey Smith. Shout out to you.
Listener to the pod.
But that's his fault. Like for a while, he was rocking a mullet, you know, and that made him look older.
Sweet look.
Yeah, and then he has a shitty mustache, which I'm like, okay, maybe you are in your 20s and stuff. And he talks very, very immaturely. So I'm like, okay, now I see you're 24. But yeah, I thought he was in his 30s. And he's like, dude, I'm 24. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's kind of interesting how, like, you know, I mean, we've only been talking to older comedians, and they've been really accessible to us in this area. And I feel like in New York City, it's mostly people like us. It's mostly like younger
I'd say
people.
The age is like 20 to 32.
Like doing like the open mics and like the smaller shows and stuff. And I feel like getting someone really established in New York City is not easy. you couldn't, you know,
because like really established means you're off.
It means
work.
you've been on, you know, Colbert. You've been on Fallon, I guess. And, you know, you've
gotten spots. You have real credits to your name. Like we made up our credits. Like that's where we're at right now.
Right.
I'm like, oh, what do you want? Like, I have the Big Berry podcast.
I have a podcast that, you know, anyone can just submit it to SoundCloud. It could be whatever. That's my credit. Yeah.
It takes like an hour of work, which most people aren't willing to do.
No, honestly, like, you know, you think it's like fun, like talk, and it is fun. Like, it is fun, like riffing and stuff. But like, then you get your SD card, you got to edit it, and you're like, oh.
Then you lose 15 minutes of content. You're like, God fucking damn it.
Yeah, like this is stupid. But you got to, like, you know, change the audio sometimes. You got to. It gets so like, and it's like annoying because, like, you know what would be great is if somehow you could listen to music while doing it, but you can't because you got to listen to what people are saying.
You have to listen to yourself or make a point and be like, that was a good point, Sean.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back.
Oh, I do that all the time. Like, that was funny,
dude. You repeat the same joke like 10 times in the audio file, and be like, "Fuck yeah, people are gonna like that."
Yeah, and they do.
You know what's coming up next though? Like, you know how like movies, like they have like the director's commentary.
Yeah,
like they should have like
a podcast
commentary on the podcast. Like we were talking about it in this moment. You know, it's really funny because it's side story, all this stuff.
Yeah, but it's just like completely overlaid with the actual podcast audio.
Just this meta warped world we're gonna live in. Just you only talk about things that other people are talking about.
That's crazy. Actually, getting back to the elbow room, something we mentioned before is that so that mic is interesting because you can either choose to do 3, 5, 7, or 10 minutes.
Well, that's how it was because they were doing the online sign up, and that's how you could like check. And now they're doing like show up and sign up things. So I don't know if it's changed. I haven't done that mic in a while because if you get up at LOL room, at the LOL. You don't really know what time you're going to go on. Yeah. So you could be there for an hour, 2 hours, all that stuff. So it's really hard to do both mics. Unless you've already done your time at LOL, then you could hop over to Elbow Room or vice versa. But I think now they do, and I don't know if they offer the option to do 3, 5, 7, or 10 minutes.
Okay.
That's how they did when they first did the online signups. But it's been a while since I've been there for the open mic and stuff.
Yeah. And I was saying how just like I bet there's so many overconfident comics who aren't that good who are like, you know what, put me up for 10. I want people to deal with me for 10 minutes and they bomb for 2 and they have to continue going for 8 minutes. Like that's why I think like when open mic is 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, that's perfect, you know, because 5 minutes.
I always think about that when you hear real like top comedians talk about it. It's like, they booked me to do an hour. And 5 minutes in, I knew it was not going to be a good hour.
Yeah,
and you have to keep going up there for a full hour and keep talking.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's where the paycheck comes in. Because it's like, oh my god, because like when you're bombing, you don't want to be on fucking stage. Like the audience doesn't want you on the stage. You don't want to be on the stage, but you have to stay up there for that full 5 minutes. That's one of my biggest. We have some new people that have been coming out and trying comedy, and they've been quitting at like the 3 minute mark. And I'm like, listen. Just finish that 5. Wait for that light, and then just you just staying up on the stage is half the work.
Yeah, that was a big problem of mine when I started. I would always bail like 4 minutes. I was like, all right, well, if y'all don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, and walk off stage. And they were like, dude, like the host wasn't ready, you know, for me to come up. Like, I was like, I get that. So it was real hard for me to stay in the ring while I was getting my ass beat, you know. But I got better at that. And then there's some people that run the light and they're like, dude, get the fuck off stage.
Yeah, and the host has to like awkwardly, oh fuck you, I did well that night. You know, the host has to like awkwardly shuffle their way towards the comic, being like, why don't you get off now?
Yeah.
No, but like I think this is true. Is that like if you can't be funny in 5, you're not gonna be funny in 10. You really aren't.
Yeah, no one's ever turning around at the last minute. Like I nailed this.
Yeah.
And then they just start like crowd work, bad crowd work, and like trying to roast the crowd.
Roast the other comics.
Yeah.
It's hard. You can't really do crowd work with like comics because
because you're doing it with your friends at that point, and then it just turns into fucking around.
It's just like, but it's not good practice because it's not like they're people you know. They're your colleagues. They're
it's inside jokes. Like it's not for all the audience and shit. They're not gonna get it.
But Elbow Room is interesting. You said the bartender there was really loud.
Yeah, the bartender. That's the one thing. Like she's always yelling. And the bar is like right next to the stage.
Yeah.
You know, like a few feet from the stage. So she's just yelling across the people. I'm like, you got to shut up. You know, like you're distracting everybody. Yeah. We finally got the room quiet and all you hear is,
Karen! Yeah. But and the audience is comics and audience who are pissed off because it's comedy, not karaoke.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Speaking of karaoke, this is just something I noticed. There's a lot of karaoke places down here. Like there's been so many. Every place we've gone to has had a karaoke.
Yeah, what? You guys think you're fucking good singers?
You guys just love karaoke down here?
I only do it when I'm drunk.
Well, I mean, who does
No one does it. No one does it sober.
Yeah, I guess true. I have no intentions of doing karaoke. I did it for it was a New Year's Eve party and we rented out a karaoke room.
Yeah.
And I sang Madonna and I was like, I'm never doing this again. Singing Madonna, not drinking. I'm still drinking. What was I going to say? Oh, Elbow Room. I'm doing a show there the last Saturday. This is what New York. Come to San Antonio and see me at Elbow Room.
Some people from San Antonio are going to listen. They get them to come out.
Yeah.
We
Joey Smith.
Plug us, you know. Remember, people, send this to your friends who aren't into comedy and see if they'll like it. Like, you know, every little subscribe counts.
Yeah, just get one. If you know one person, which you have to know one person.
Just at the very one least. Person goes a long way.
One person besides your mom or your dad.
Why? Their mom and dad are listeners.
My favorite thing is like, cause you see the logo that I made.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody's like, oh, I've seen this logo. I was like, oh yeah, have you heard the podcast? Like, no, I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
I was like, well then why the fuck are you talking to me? Like, you just came to see, like, are you seen my hashtag?
Yeah, right.
And they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of this before. That's cool. I was like, oh yeah, you like it?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
No.
I've never heard it before. I was like, okay, well thanks.
Great art. Never listened to it. I don't do podcasts.
A lot of people aren't into podcasts.
Some people don't do podcasts,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're like, I'm not into podcasts in general.
My thing is like in Texas, I feel like you should, because you guys drive so much. It'd be great to put them on, like, especially these hour longs. Is like, oh, I need to drive from San Antonio to El Paso. That's what, 5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys need to. You guys really.
You guys need to shrink the state a little bit. That's what
I don't know. I don't know how we can.
Just start sawing the ground and then taking out and putting it in the ocean.
Yeah.
You overestimate like what a short drive is. That's what I noticed.
Well, all right, we'll talk about this in a second. Our friend Tori Pool last night gave us a ride back.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, we go up to Vegas sometimes. I'm like, you know, in my head, because I know where we are in San Antonio, I'm like, Vegas is very far away. It's like, it's a quick drive. And I'm like, Because then in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe Nevada and Utah are flipped in my brain real quick. I'm like, okay, it's a long drive, but it's not a quick drive. And she's like, yeah, it's only 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then we looked up today, it's 18 hours.
Yeah.
But also 10 hours the East Coast gets you through like half the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can literally visit the entire union in
And
10
I'm
In
hours.
3 hours,
Yeah.
you could be in 3 different states.
But it's
or
like,
whatever,
but in Texas,
right.
you think like, oh, 5-hour drive. It's just a quick hop over to
Yeah.
the other side of the state. Like,
Nah, man.
like, what?
Like I drive to Houston and Dallas. Like we have a family up there.
Yeah.
Like those are long drives, 3-hour drives, 5-hour drives. And I was like, I hate driving.
Yeah.
I've done when I lived in Seattle. Like I'd done that drive 4 times, and I almost killed somebody.
Whoa.
Doing that drive.
Yeah. Go
This is-
on.
This is actually our attempt just to get you to confess.
Go on. You know, double jeopardy.
We
that
have
the rule
secret
is.
cameras everywhere in this room.
I said almost. I didn't. She's still alive, I think.
Yeah.
Nah. It was. Do you really want me to talk about this? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. No,
So-
part of the fun of this is riffing off stuff.
This will make a great clip for our Instagram.
Yeah.
I was living in Seattle and I was getting ready to move back to Texas. This was like the first time I was going to move back. I just got back from a tour. I'm fucking shit broke. Can't pay my rent. Good thing that my roommate at the time had a good job, so he covered me. But so I met a chick when I was living in Austin, and she's like, "Oh, I want to go to Seattle before you leave." I was like, "Cool. I need a driving partner anyway. Fly out here, and then we'll drive down together." Bad fucking move. She comes out and she's like having the worst time ever. She hates all my friends. She talks shit about me. First, she comes out and like we go out to like a bar. She's like, "I'm not gonna sleep with you." I was like, "Oh, that's great. You know, like I'm good. We got that out of the way."
Yeah.
And then so she does. And then so I'm like, okay, cool, right? And so the next night we go out and like we're not together. We were talking, whatever. We're not together. But I thought, okay, we just had sex yesterday, so I guess we're kind of like a thing. And so we go out the next day, and she's flirting with everybody in the bar. And I'm like, cool. Well, I'm gonna go home, and while you do this, you know,
I'm gonna go home and cry real quick.
yeah. And she gets mad at me for leaving. I was like, you know, you're flirting with all these other guys, whatever. We had a big old fight.
Good thing you have a 24-hour car ride coming up.
It's 30. Okay, and then so the next we had tickets to the Mariners Yankees game. For some reason, she's a Yankees fan. I was Mariners fan. Mariners won that
Fuck the
game,
Yankees.
and she was mad at me for the Mariners winning that game. I was like,
Man.
she gave me the silent treatment because
That hurt your sex life.
A
but
30-hour silent treatment.
no, and then the next day we're fucking leaving. And so the car's packed, and then I had my dog at the time. My dog's dead, rest in peace. And so the car's packed up, and we're in a Volkswagen Beetle too, which is very small. And I'm saying bye to my roommate because I'm not going to see him because he's moving back to Latvia. So I'm taking my time, like saying my byes to him, and she's just huffing and puffing, like, "We gotta go now. I just want to go home." I was like, it's 30 hours. And so we hit the road, and then my dog starts whining because he's not used to being in the car.
Because it's a dog.
Yeah, and she's like, "You need to do something about that." I was like, "What do you want me to do? Like kill my dog?" She's like, "No, get him some Benadryl." And so we stop at a gas station to get Benadryl, and I was like, "Can you do this? Can you give Benadryl to the dog?" And she's like, "I'm sure it's fine." And so I faked giving him Benadryl, and then he finally calms down, and she like, it took him a while. I was like, "It takes a while to get through his system, you know, like all this stuff." And she's like, "Well, give him another one." I was like, "No, I'm not giving him 2 Benadryls." Finally, he comes down. The road is horrible. If you're ever on a long road trip, you have to make the driver happy at all times. Whatever the driver wants to listen to,
yes.
they listen to. You make sure that they stay awake. You keep them entertained. All that stuff.
Yeah, you don't tell them they suck at driving either.
This whole time she's just complaining, whining, complaining. And I was like, okay, let me put on some music. I don't want to listen to music. Fine. You know,
I
like,
just want to sit in
I
angry
want to
silence.
sit in dead silence.
yeah, and so I'm just trying to like make like light conversation and stuff like that. She's like, do you mind? I just want to not talk. I just want to get home. I was like, we're still in Seattle. And so yeah, we get it's a long fucking story. Wyoming. I make a joke about Wyoming, like how it sucks because Wyoming. You think Texas is bad? Try driving through Wyoming.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's nothing. There's no break from the monotony. Like it's just like plain,
Just plains
and a fucking bitch passenger ruining everything. She's like, I should have just flew home. I was like, you still can. There's airports in Wyoming.
That's so true.
I was like, just do it. Like, do you want to? Like, and she's like, no, just drive. Just hurry up and drive. I was like, I can't get there any faster. All these states were fucking having a bad time. I'm popping no-dos because I just want to get home as soon as possible. I'm fucking delusional. I'm fucking seeing shit. I was like, we have to stop. We get a place in Colorado. I can't sleep because I'm hopped up on no-dos, but I'm fucking dead ass tired for whatever reason. We sleep for like 2-3 hours and then get back on the road. I just want to get rid of her. She's nagging me this whole time, and I had like visions of like I could have left you in Wyoming somewhere. So finally, and then she was living in Houston at the time, so I had to drive her in Houston, drop her off in Houston.
Oh my God, it's even further.
But man, I finally drop her off like 29 hours later, drop her off. And she had just bought this house. And so I drop her off at her house and she's like, oh, do you want to come see the house? She's like, no, man. And like, she's like, that's so rude. You came all this way. I just bought this house and you're not even come take a tour of the house? Okay, fine, sure, whatever. And I was like, cool. And so I'm driving and I legit yelling. I've never yelled so loud in my fucking life. Just like, like just all this stuff built up, and the no-dos. I'm coming down from the no-dos, like all this. I want to kill her. I get this phone call. Oh, I left a souvenir in your car. Can you meet my mom at a gas station to give it to her? Because I don't want to see you. Great. I had to drive back to Houston. Well, I mean, I was only like 30 minutes away, but I had to drive back to give her like some like house thing made out of, I don't know what the fuck, but it said Seattle on it, so she wanted it for her mom. Meet her mom, who she's been bitching about this whole time. Like, this guy did this to me, this guy did that to me. And like, hi, ma'am, how are you doing? Like, oh, great. She was like pleasant. She was really pleasant for all the shit.
Yeah, I know
that
my
heard.
daughter sucks. I get it.
Yeah. And so I get back in the car and I start screaming again. I couldn't stop screaming. Like you see those like when people like freak out like on movies and TV shows, like what the fuck is that about? Like that never happens. It happens. And it happened. And I screamed for like a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And then I got home. It's funny. I got home and first person I saw was my grandma. Everybody was at my sister's house and I was like, Grandma, I almost killed somebody. And she's like, you should have. And then that bitch tried to add me on Facebook like a couple years ago. I was like, I still hate you. Yeah.
You know, this entire time I was so scared this was going to get into, and then I had my hands on her neck.
No.
I was thinking like you got so mad yelling at her, you like swerved off the road.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
In my mind, I killed her like 1,000 times, but it never got to that. The worst of it was I really almost left her at a truck stop. Like we had to stop and I was like, she was taking forever in the restroom, like women do. That's not sexist. I don't know.
That's sexist if it's just true.
It's just a fact.
Like, I was legit about to leave her there. Like I really wanted to. I really, really wanted to. I still kind of do.
Have you thought about turning that into a bit for the stage?
See, I'm not.
That's
really,
a funny story.
Yeah, but no, I haven't. I might. But yeah,
you should. It's
funny because that podcast. We all saw that podcast yesterday, right?
The Comedia
Public
Go-Go.
Access.
Media Go-Go, Public Access.
Very,
And
very funny.
they had a thing about what makes you scream.
Yeah.
And so I just thought about that yesterday. I was like, a 30-hour car ride with a nagging bitch.
30-hour car
30-hour
ride.
car ride.
Crazy. I mean, I guess people in Texas, like, do they just like
do this shit
do
regularly?
those like long car rides because they're used to just the enormity of the state?
Yeah, man. I know people that live in San Antonio and work in Austin or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like I don't even like driving 20 minutes to go to my work.
Dude,
you know?
tell people in New York to drive 3 hours. They'd be like, I don't want to see my grandma.
I was dating a girl who lived in Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's a 45 minute from my house. We broke up because of the distance.
Yeah.
We were so like, I'm like, I don't fucking feel
Yeah,
like
it's a hop,
driving.
skip away in Texas, 45 minutes.
Hop,
Yeah,
skip it
yeah,
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Like sometimes I don't even like to go to that Monday mic night because it's like 30 minutes away, but it's the only mic on Monday. So yeah, I hate driving. That's why I should move to. That's why when I lived
in New York.
Yeah, when I lived in Seattle, like I sold my car, I walked everywhere, took ferries, the bus is free downtown in certain areas, and I lived right outside of downtown. So I walked everywhere, and I fucking loved it because I hate driving. So yeah, I need to move somewhere where I don't need a car.
New York City is where it's at, baby.
Oh no, that's why I want to move into the city so I
dreams.
can get rid of my car and stop paying out the ass to keep getting it fixed.
Yeah.
But,
Maintaining it, gas, all that.
money.
So actually, that can transition towards something I want to ask you. So, are you settled down in San Antonio? Is this where you're going to be for a while, or do you think
set down some roots?
I don't know. Like it's me and my wife.
My wife and I.
My wife and I. Sorry.
stop being condescending to these Texans?
That's not condescending.
Yeah. Like
I'll
everything.
let you know what condescending is.
Everything
Peter.
about you is putting feet on table. Like you're just a feet on table type of person.
Yeah.
I am a feet on table kind of person.
No, and it's we've talked about moving. We've thought about moving back to Seattle, or at least the Washington area because I still have family up there. We both have family up there, but it's so expensive. It's a beautiful place, but it's so expensive. And she kind of travels for work sometimes. Like she works in the service industry, so she's traveled a bit. She might even have an opportunity to move to New York or to open up a restaurant in New York.
Oh wow!
So we might check it out. But it's just like worrying about the cost of living.
Yeah.
You know, how are we going to do that and stuff?
Right.
My job would allow me to transfer to California.
Where in California?
Northridge.
Okay.
Where's that?
Which is it's like 30-40 minutes.
It's north of Southridge.
Oh yeah.
But it's like 30 minutes outside of LA.
Yeah, it's like
East of Westridge.
basically picture like New York. It's like Poughkeepsie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And I have a cousin out there who's always like telling me to go out there and stuff, but I haven't made it out there. I really don't like LA, but that's when I was like in a band, like poor in a band. I was like, I hate this place.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say anything good about LA. Like I've known a bunch of people that moved out there.
I think the mantra of LA is that it's like you see it as like the worst place in the world, but you're just like, but I like this. I like the amenities of the
I
weather.
like this place that's a beautiful, beautiful place that's filled with sadness.
Yeah, pretty much.
There was an article in the SA Current about people from the Blind Tiger and stuff, and the consensus is that San Antonio is where you get good and then you leave.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of scenes in the country are like that, where it's like you cut your teeth and then you're like, okay, well now I'm ready to go to New York or LA.
Yeah,
depending on where it is. And I think that's a really good thing. I mean, because like New York City, like starting, I think a lot of people recommend like, oh, don't just move to New York City if you've never done comedy before.
Yeah,
because it's so hard to stand out in New York City. But if you found a way in your scene to stand out and then you move to New York City, like you're going to be ahead of like 90% of the crowd.
Yeah,
you know, that's how we got into. That's how I got into contact with the comedian from Florida, because she's been doing it for 8 years and just moved to New York City to like really do this. And like she went to an open mic and fucking rocked the place. I was like, this person's someone we should talk to. But yeah, no, it's like it's definitely
episode.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to like if you just have no experience to like just go.
See,
and
then
like,
wouldn't
try
the
to make a
inverse be
mark.
true too? Like if you cut your teeth in New York for a while and then you move somewhere else and like, no, I'm already better than everyone else here.
Yeah, but then you go nowhere.
I know that you go nowhere. You could be a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah,
though.
but so what are your comedy goals for the future? What do you want to accomplish in like 5 years, 10 years?
I do want to get better. So like the whole like moving for comedy is not really like I'm not delusional about that at all. Moving just to move to find a new place, I'm all for. But to say like I'm gonna move for comedy, I'm a few years from that. That is the goal, to get to that. I mean, I do want to get better, but to say like to make a career out of it, like I'm not gonna give up my day job anytime soon. I like to be realistic about stuff.
Yeah.
Because being in music and seeing all that struggles, like I don't want to go back to that struggle. I know it is going to be a struggle, but I just want to make sure that I get to the point where I'm good enough to make the struggle worthwhile.
Yes.
You know. So that's the point. I do want to get better here. Maybe because Texas, you could tour a lot of places. You could hit up a lot of places. The Austin scene, Houston has a good scene. I don't know too much about Dallas, but you could hit up a lot of places. You know, get your name in Texas.
Yeah, short drive away, 3 hours, and you hop on the
hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yeah. But moving, I mean, it would be nice to get my act good enough to kind of stand alongside, people from New York or people from LA or Chicago. Y'all said is a big place.
Yeah.
But I've still got a ways to go on that.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm working on for sure.
Who's better looking, me or Peter?
Yeah. We've asked everyone that.
Who's better looking? Me or him?
Yeah. Cool. Y'all good.
That was not the
That
question.
was not an answer.
Listen,
Peter,
all right.
I think Peter cares more about his appearance than you.
That's true.
But that's on you. I mean,
That's just who I am. I let it be.
Yeah.
I go with more the charisma is how I
that,
attract
that
people.
question seems more like a Peter question, but if you asked it, I'm like, you shouldn't have asked that question. But you asked for it, so
No, I do. I need to hurt sometimes.
No, yeah, he needs to. That's
No one sees me when I try. Try to look good. I can turn this around like that.
Sean's been saying he's gonna be hot for like months. He's I'm
saying
gonna lose the weight. I'm gonna be hot. I'm gonna be hot.
Yeah, it's called positive affirmations, Peter. You have to do it every day.
Let's see it affirm.
Yeah.
Let's see it manifest into our reality.
Oh well.
Oh, okay.
It's coming.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
had you asked that question before that alpha move, the foot on the table, it may have been different, but probably not.
Well, let me tell you something.
Here it goes. Oh,
Don't care about anything.
oh boy.
You're the one that asked the question.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care about people's opinions if I don't like what they say.
Yeah. Sean is twiddling his toes right now.
Oh, my toesy. They're going to market,
my
baby.
Face. I'm gonna smell your feet.
Smell them? Yeah, go for it. Pretty nice.
Ooh, no,
No, they're funky. They've been out in the sun. They've been in the sun all day. They are gross.
Smells like Texas sweat right there. Ooh, you want to give it a whiff, Patrick?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
You want to sniff these?
I could smell them with my eyes.
Not great. Not great.
Yeah.
All right, we'll change subjects.
All right.
How about some comedic influences? Like, who's like a stand-up? Like before you got into it, like who's like you watch him? Like, God, that guy's so fucking funny, or gal.
The first record that I got into, and I'm old, so I say record, was Rodney Dangerfield. That was that my parents had. So I love that one. I didn't really understand it.
Wow.
Yeah, as far as like, what is he doing? He's just talking to people and stuff. But I liked his energy. I liked his the cadence that he had. And when I started, I was very Rodney Dangerfield-y.
Why don't you call me when you have no class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we all start, we all just kind of become a knockoff of who we like until we find our own voice.
Until you find your own voice, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it, all the jokes I wrote about my wife, I always like ran it by her first. So when I would do my act, everybody would be like, "How are things with you and your wife?" I was like, "No, they're great. These are all just jokes, like Rodney Dangerfield style jokes." They're like, No, like everybody thinks
Take my wife, please.
Yeah, everybody thinks that you really hate your wife. I was like, okay, maybe I should write some stuff. My wife thought it was funny for the most part.
People take comedy more seriously.
Yeah, people
like,
are like,
sure.
oh man.
No, I know a lot of comics are like, make fun of their wife, and then you meet their wife, and they're like, this person's lovely.
Yeah, this person's
and it's funny.
But Rodney Dangerfield was one of the first ones that I listened to, looked up to as far as that. And then this is gonna give me some shit. Eddie Murphy's Raw was always playing at like family parties.
Yeah,
but they would always kick the kids out of the room. Like, oh, you can't watch this; it's too dirty. But every time, like we had like a family party, like they would play that and then kick the kids out.
Yeah.
So it was built up so much for me.
Yeah.
And then when I saw it, I was like, this shit.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that was an iconic album, record, whatever. Special, but like it has dated kind of poorly, just a lot of the jokes. But like that Eddie Murphy, just pure charisma. I don't think there'll ever be a comic that can top Eddie at his peak.
Yeah, like Chopped Up, I liked his bits, but as far as the special front to back, I was like, this is a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's more my family's fault because they built it up for me. Like it was so dirty, it was so like not kid friendly and stuff. And then I saw it, I was like, you were hiding this from me? Like it's not that good.
Yeah, this is fine.
I mean, he is great. Delirious was great. I didn't like Raw too much, but Delirious was fun.
Yeah. Love the suits.
Yeah.
Love the suits.
We got a matching pair of Eddie Murphy suits.
Eddie Murphy, like what, red blazers, shining.
Yeah.
And then my parents were also into Richard Pryor, so I listened to him. I have a couple of his specials too. And then Greg Giraldo was a good one. When we were on tour, like instead of listening to music, we would listen to like comedy records and stuff. And Greg Giraldo was one that we rotated a lot. More now, I really like Mark Norman and Joe List. I like their delivery, their style.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Norman. He actually did a set. He opened.
I opened for Mark.
Yeah,
actually.
he did a set at our local
That's
club.
probably my biggest claim to fame at this point.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
Man.
it was great. It was an awesome experience. He was so funny. He didn't give two shits about my set, but like, it's one of those I built up in my head. I'm like,
He didn't give two shits about being there. He just left saying like,
came in.
I'm Kevin Hart.
He
And he
came
just
in, did 50 minutes, left, went to another mic and did like another 50 minutes. And I'm like, damn, that's good.
Yeah.
That's why he's on the precipice of just really getting to that next level. And you could see it. Like Seinfeld was doing like he's a Mets fan, so they usually bring him in the booth once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And like, oh, who's some upcoming guys? And he shouted out Mark Norman. It's like, holy shit, yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's like, I mean, there's definitely comedians I like now who I'm like, look, 10 years from now, this person, everyone's going to love this person. And I loved them first, you know?
That's how I feel about Donald Glover, because I was way in on him. But it's another story for another day.
Yeah.
And I love Nate Bargatze's writing style. If I could write like him, like I want to be clean, but like I'm not funny enough to be that clean. You know, so I go for the dirty. But I really like his writing.
Good clean comedy is really, really hard.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just go the
Well, it's because you have to be really clever.
Yeah, clever to
know?
make it. Because like you can do like lame clean comedy, like
because I think like dirty comedy is still somewhat taboo in our culture, so people respond to that. So you know.
And it is fun. I mean, the dirty stuff is fun. Like I was a whole lot more raunchy and a little hacky and gross earlier on and stuff. But I'm trying to be more outside of that with my writing. But I'm not a clean comic by far. I'm not a clever clean comic at all. but yeah, those are a few of the people that I guess that I could think of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
you got anything else? We're at.
Well, I was gonna ask you what time
we're at 41 minutes on top of the 13 earlier.
Oh yeah, no, we got plenty.
And
of
then
time.
our lost 10 minutes.
Oh, on top of the 13th. Oh yeah, we can start wrapping.
We're
this
at
up,
50.
actually.
We're at 54 minutes.
Yeah, we're at 54 minutes.
Yeah,
so.
that killing a ex-girlfriend of mine. I think I built it up too much.
That was a good story.
Where's the throat?
No, I was like
choking
because
at?
you were like, should I tell this story? And we're like, yeah, and you start telling it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna end with him almost like strangling this person.
And then you and I we have to call the police. And
then we gotta be like, all right, we gotta cut another 13
minutes out of this.
No, another problem of mine is especially with my writing, my comedy writing style is like I think I'm a shitty storyteller.
Yeah.
So I think if I don't get people like quick, then I'm gonna lose them and stuff. So that's why I meant like, should I get into the story? Because
storytelling is it's really hard.
It's hard to do.
It's really hard.
A good job of it. But honestly, I wasn't pretty engaged with your story right there. And if you like wrote that down, like just write it out, you could find a really good series of jokes in there.
The thing is, there's a suspense plot to that story because it starts with like I almost killed someone, and everyone's like,
killed someone.
You know, because like it's
right.
intriguing. I was intrigued. I was like, who did he almost
and
murder?
then you could keep bringing in scenarios and write funny. Like you could make that into a long bit.
Yeah.
Like
it's all about the plot. If you have a plot, then you suck them in.
I'm not really good at storytelling. Like I have another one about this girl passing out in Austin. I'm not gonna do it right now. I'll tell you off mic. But it's a long bit. I mean, it's a long story that I've tried to break down into bits, but I don't know how to do it. I'm a short like get them in, get them out. Yeah. Next thing kind of writer. But that's what I do.
But anyway, this has been Patrick C. Huerta, host of the BarbacoaCore podcast, which we were just guests on.
We were guests on. You can check that on to see the inverse.
BarbacoaCore, that's on Instagram.
Yeah, at BarbacoaCore podcast on Instagram. Follow that because that's any guest of my podcast. I become like an employee of them. Yeah. So like I'll repost any show thing, anything that they got going on. I'll repost on that. All right. Or anything that the podcast does on itself. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Patrick C. Huerta. PatrickChuerta. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And you could find anything the podcast related or anything about me at www.barbacoacore.com.
And I've been Peter Clark Deutsch.
I've been Sean Barry.
And this has been Two Mike Minimum.
We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Back. I'm Peter Clark Deutsch.
I'm Sean Barry.
This is Two Mike
Mike
Minimum.
Minimum.
Continuing our series of San Antonio comics, we've talked with a lot of great comedians.
We have been trapped in a room, and they are beating us until everyone has been spoken to.
Yeah, you think you're hot because you're from New York? Think again.
We're hot because the sun is hot outside.
We're hot because we're not used to 100+ degree weather.
I know, it's been a long time, but...
Yeah. But
our guest
anyway,
is used to this weather.
Yes. We got a very funny comedian as our guest, Tori Pool, who was a performer in the Altercation Comedy Festival. Tori Pool, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So have you been in San Antonio all your life?
Most of my life. This is home. I was in New Mexico for like a little bit, but that was terrible, full of meth, and so I'm back here.
You know, New York has a lot of meth too.
Oh, that's good to know.
I know. Well, we like to share the wealth.
It's like a good weight loss program.
You know, our friend Jason Scott does meth, and he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, teeth too, or
no teeth stayed in, thankfully.
Okay, dope.
But, you know,
Yeah,
he looked good though. I might do some meth myself. Just
it's popping.
Yeah. We're pro meth advocacy on this podcast.
Yeah, if you have a meth dealership and you want to sponsor us, give us a DM. We'll take your illegal money.
Yeah, listen, Walter White did really well.
Yeah,
that works.
and he looked good at the end.
Yeah.
So
at the end.
So you've been in San Antonio most of your life. Had a stint in New Mexico.
Comedy in San Antonio the whole time though. Comedy.
Right. So when did you start doing comedy in San Antonio?
It's been almost 2.5 years, and I went up the first time here. 2 years of like doing shows and stuff. Yeah.
Well, where'd you go up your first time?
At Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club.
Right.
At
Laugh
their
Out Loud.
open mic.
LOL. That's
LOL,
important to
yes.
specify.
Or as I say, lol.
Lol.
That's just how I read it.
Yeah, that's how it's right out
Well,
loud.
we have an LOL in New York, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure. I don't know. There's
In
too many.
Times Square, and I'm wondering if
No,
people
that's
call
Caroline's.
it. I'm pretty sure there was
That's
I saw something called like LO. I don't
Maybe,
know. There's a
I
lot of
don't know.
bullshit in New
Maybe
York
it's
City,
like a
but
popcorn store or
It might be
something.
that.
I don't know. And I'm curious as how people pronounce it because I'm kind of thinking they just say lol.
Yeah, lol,
But-
lol, lol,
Kids
whatever.
probably are like, lol.
Lol.
Yeah.
But okay, so you got your start at LOL. Did you mostly just do that mic, or did you hop around?
No, the first year I hit every mic that was available. Just trying to like build a set and not really understanding what building a set was.
Yeah.
I remember that really arrogant feeling that like,
Yes.
oh my God, these guys are doing the same 5 minutes and I'm out here trying to do new material every week and like not understanding how to build a set, like that
Right.
arrogance. It was dope.
The I gotta write a new 5 minutes every mic, keep myself sharp.
No,
where
there's a
it's
lot
like-
of people that used to think
Yes.
that. Like,
Yeah, but it's
there's
not-
a lot of people that still,
Yeah.
they're the, yeah.
like jokes at work are so precious. Hold on to them. Cling
Yeah,
on to
I think
them,
I still
you
do
know?
like 3 jokes from my first like ever year, like my first year. I still do a couple jokes.
Yeah,
because they just work.
Yeah, no, I got like kind of roasted for that at my college comedy club. Like we do a roast at the end of every summer, which is just a really cathartic way for us to tell us.
tell each other. We're gonna roast each other when we go back home after this
but,
vacation.
one thing I was roasted on my senior year was just like Peter does the same material all the time. Is because I did a lot of shows, and when I was
that was the most. I do a lot of shows.
well, at night when I was in Binghamton, I did a lot of shows, and when I do mics, I try out bits. But when I did shows, I was like, okay, this is the material that'll work.
Yes.
Maybe I'll fit in a joke that has done well at mics, but like I'm gonna give the audience a good time. I'm gonna have a good opener, good closer.
Yeah.
All these college kids were like, well, I'm writing all the time.
Yeah.
Jokes about my mundane college experience.
Yeah. You have to. Well, no, I mean, I think that's a big misconception is that if people see you at a show and you're doing jokes that they've already seen, they think, oh, that person isn't writing. But it's like, nah, man, like, come on now.
No, I'm trying to tighten this up as,
it would be like you went to a concert and the band played new material they wrote yesterday.
Yeah.
Like no one like
Hey guys, I got this dope new song.
I got a
wrote it in
bar.
the shower.
really we were just riffing a little bit yesterday. I'm like, you guys want to hear that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I go through like material I've done for years all the time, and I'm like, I think I could make this a little better, and I
Yeah.
tweak
Yeah.
it. I change a word, add a tag, lose a tag.
Part of the
you know.
process, like you just keep writing it and then rewriting.
Right.
I think the only thing that's different with those jokes is now I've incorporated like a lot more like facial expressions and stuff like that, playing with the audience with my
You've added more
weird
of the
things.
performance aspect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, I want to talk about that, but like because we were talking a little bit last night about how you kind of reverse write your jokes, right? Like
Oh yeah. And writing dojo is what we call it.
writing dojo. And so it's like you guys have like a little bit of a writer's room, like you get together.
Yes. So it's not like a traditional writing group in the sense we try to work our way backwards. Like, well, what is this joke? Why are you telling it? Why should we care? And who are you leaving out?
That's a very good way to go about it. Be getting to like the core of like material and like how it's going to respond to audiences, because
Well, sometimes people just go for the easy thing, and then there's that whole thing where like, oh, your joke sounds just like mine. You're stealing, and no, dude, you just haven't gone deep enough.
No, yeah, it's very good to be like as rigorous as possible. with your
It's
joke
like
writing.
there's an episode of Louis where it's the whole thing about him and Dane Cook. He accused Dane Cook of stealing his joke, and they did like a nice tongue in cheek. He's like, I also have an itchy asshole. Like it's not just like that's.
These things transcend time.
Yeah.
Well, you have that with fat material too, right?
Like so me and our friend Alex, he's another really big guy, and last year just after Thanksgiving, he and I wrote verbatim the same exact joke. The joke is just everyone thinks it's our favorite holiday because you get to eat as much food as you want. It's not special when you do that every day of your life. We wrote it verbatim of each other, like just that parallel thought, and
It happens. It happens a lot, and then everybody gets super sensitive about it, and especially like I think something happened recently in one of the groups, and somebody posted like, all right, I know you guys are stealing material. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's the joke? I don't know, but it sounded really familiar. And I'm like,
it's about
up.
blacks with bad credit.
Yeah. Zing.
The
Yeah.
zingers.
It's like, come on, dude, easy.
Yeah,
I am today's George Carlin. Stop stealing my act.
Yeah.
But so actually, out of curiosity, because this writing dojo sounds super legit, is like,
do you have a sensei?
Do we have a sensei? We do have like someone who leads the group, and it's usually some of the core members of the group, because it's a group of about 34, and not everybody attends every week. But we have a schedule of people that run it, and they're the ones that kind of lead the questioning, but everybody's encouraged to ask questions throughout it.
Okay, that's cool.
And can anyone join, or is there like a hazing ritual?
We ask that you have an itchy asshole. No, it's really about, because I'm talking about Blind Tiger Comedy Club specifically. It's the cooperative's goal is the first step to even being considered is to support the room. So like you have to come to shows, you have to be there, and like
You want to be part of this group, be part of this group.
be part of the group, because we're there all the time, and we're working at it, and we're trying to make it cool,
Yeah, and the camaraderie of stand-up is really important, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you need community. If you don't have community, you're gonna be bitter and think everyone's stealing your jokes.
Yeah. We have talked in depth about bitterness, so let's try to keep it a little bit positive. Right?
Yeah.
Impossible, Sean.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
How long? So, Jerry, my brain's mush. Did you say how long you guys have been doing this for now?
The Tiger's been around for 7 years.
So I mean, the writers part of it, though.
Oh no, for 7 years.
7 years of writing. Okay.
Yeah, they do. Before my time, that was even like dojo was a weekly requirement. If you don't dojo, you don't go up on the midnight.
Okay.
A lot of people come at us and they're like, "How do I sign up on this open mic?" And I'm like, "Yo, it's not an open mic.
It's not an open mic.
Yeah.
It's a showcase. That's why people can drop in from out of town and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we want to go open your room," because we have a guaranteed audience that's in it for comedy. Like they seek us out in children's cosplay
Children's
restaurant.
playroom.
Yeah.
They're there for comedy. Unlike they're there for comedy without the 2-drink minimum.
Yeah, which is very crucial at this point. Although don't worry, I always have at least 5 drinks on my
very New York, but I'm pretty sure LOL is probably the same way.
2-drink minimum, or
LOL's 2-drink minimum, and I mean up until recently it was kind of like I stayed away.
See, I don't know. Maybe I'm just so used to New York prices where I see 2-drink minimum here and it's only like $8. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Personally,
I saw you like paying your bill. You were like $9.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I was
Sean's just been like in Wonderland right here.
So happy. I paid $4.65 for a Jack and Coke. I've literally paid that $17 once from that in New York City.
Yeah.
For one, the sign this big, which is for the audience small.
I ordered an old fashioned on some rooftop bar in New York, and they were like, it was like $20, and I was like, what the fuck is in this? I was like, just really upset.
Just seeing $3 in a bar is really weird to me.
Yeah, it's just like oh, am I robbing you guys? Is that
you guys have to check out a happy hour before you go?
Yeah. We're gonna drink tonight. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, because we are on your brewery show.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Hoppy Endings. Hoppy Endings actually only started up again this year in January. It was a brewery show before. With somebody who's kind of disappeared from the scene a little bit. I think she might be in Houston. I don't know. But she did a different show, and I had went out to it, and I was like, this is a cool spot. And then whatever happened with them, they had some sort of falling out or something, and they stopped doing comedy like last year in September. And I was like, hey, hi, how's it going? And it turns out that they were down, and so we started in January. I was like, I want to do a whole new thing, dude. I want to pack it out. I want to do a raffle. I want to make it so that people come and they're down to like listen to comedy, like train an audience. And so far, it's been really good. We've only had a couple of hecklers, but one month, I don't know if you guys have heard about Fiesta.
No. I think somebody said it last night, but I don't think we caught it.
That's like San Antonio's Mardi Gras or whatever. Like it's like day drinking, parades, ridiculousness.
Oh, we have that on the East Coast.
It's called Tuesday.
Well, it's just every St. Patrick's Day, every city has like
there
a
you go.
drunk.
Yeah, because we're smart enough. Like, you know what we should do in the middle of March when it's terrible outside? We should just drink in the streets.
Yeah.
And terrorize the public.
Terrorize the public.
We do that for about 2 weeks.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And so my show landed on like one of the big party days or whatever. And we were packed. It was like almost 200 people. But like 20 of them were inebriated, and Larry Garza was headlining that day. And it was just wonderful because he got on top of the table, the picnic table, and he was like, is this what happens when we gentrify? And like started screaming at them until they like abruptly got up and left. And it was dope. It was the best.
He exerted his primitive dominance over these people.
Yeah.
Jumped on his table and
He's
screamed at them.
like a brother I've never had.
Larry was a great guy.
It's a good show. So I'm happy for it. I can't wait for next year. I book it out. I've had a lot of comics like, hey, can I get on your show? And I'm like, dude, I have it set. Like, I've had it set like months at a time.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know you have a good show, and people are like want to be on it.
People want to be on your show.
Like, I always reach out to people in New York City being like, hey, can I be on this show? And they're like, yeah, we'll consider you in like March.
You get to.
Well, I'll wait till then.
Yeah.
So you've been in San Antonio for 2.5 years. I remember you were talking last night about how you don't really do the mics anymore. You more you do shows. What's like what kind of shows do you just normally do throughout the months?
Well, I produce shows with the Tiger, and I help a lot with the Tiger. Like I run the social media. I do the website. I'm in it with them. I help run the room even if I'm not on the show. So like I'm there, and then I do the midnight. If I'm not booked on a Friday, I'm doing the midnight. I'm working out new stuff. If I'm working out new stuff, I go toward the end because the whole thing is like I'm a part of that room, and so if I need to fail, I can fail there. So I will do that, and that's the same thing for everybody. Like Patrick's a part of the room. If he needs to do it, we want you to do it there, but go at the end. So that, and then I produce shows at the Brick at Blue Star, which is right over here. It's an art space. It's like huge. I have a show there at the end of the month called Sickos, which is my first producing of a variety show, so that'll be interesting. I don't know how I feel about variety shows. What else? I do a lot of stuff out of town. I was just in Fort Worth, El Paso, Dallas, different stuff like that. So wherever people have me, little towns here, San Marcos, things like that. I was in Vegas in July. I guess I'm all over. Like
I wanted to bring this up Because last night you said, yeah, Vegas is just like a quick drive. It's like 10 hours or something. And we looked it up this morning. It's an 18-hour drive.
It's 18 hours. Because
we're talking about like El Paso. Oh, because we break it up. We stay in El Paso. We
Okay.
stay in like
Okay.
Arizona is dope too.
That's fair. But it's like, we said that last night. I'm like,
They're
bullshit.
Were we talking about?
We were just talking about how far you guys drive.
Oh, we're talking about the casino, probably
because,
right outside.
Irma was like, she wants to get on the that show in Vegas. I'm like, oh, how far away is Vegas from here?
Yeah,
She's like,
I think
oh,
I was thinking
10
El
hours.
Paso. Yeah, El Paso's
Yeah.
like 7.
Because that's the tippy points on the.
I guess we're just not used. Like we don't care about the driving. It's
Fair.
so easy.
Yeah, because
like
you're so used to it. I mean, that's the thing about the East Coast is like you tell anyone to drive like 2 hours, they're like, oh.
yeah.
I'm not, yeah.
But like here, I can drive 45 minutes and there's the river, you know, and I
Yeah.
can just like be swimming in the beautiful river or whatever. And like, it's just, to me, it's like nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like what, 10 hours? Cool. We'll do it tomorrow. Right. Like, let's go. Yeah. Vegas is fun though. That was fun. Running into Irma there. She's fucking crazy. You hear that? Crazy.
You listening?
You listening, Irma?
She's listening.
Yeah.
No,
She better.
but Irma, Mind Twist Comedy. Make sure you check that out.
We have lots of love for Irma.
Yes, we have that
After-
plugged in like every episode. We're gonna do like
Yeah.
recording, and we're gonna put that in every episode. But when did you start transitioning from like mics to just shows? Like at what point?
So within the first few months that I was hitting every mic and exhausting myself because I was also running a creative writing program and doing all this other stuff, I met Irma. Irma was actually the first person to put me on a show. I met her at this stupid thing. I'm going to say it's stupid. I don't care. This stupid thing that LOL does before the open mic. It used to be run by someone that was like okay person, and now it's run by a rapist.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry, not rapist, woman abuser.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know,
know,
like
that's-
wife beater. I don't know what to call him.
We've heard
Misogynist.
the story before.
We've heard this story, just a different person in our scene.
yeah.
Well, it's like we've lived it.
Yeah, we don't like.
We lived it, and then we see someone post some comedy complaints about it.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yay. But like, so this
Yeah.
dude runs the before thing. So I used to go to it when it was run by someone else. And that's how I met Irma. Was somebody was, because how they do it is somebody would go up and they would say, okay, do your bit. And they would make you hold the microphone, but the microphone wasn't on.
Oh.
And like, we're all watching them and they're like there and they do their bit. And then it's like, what'd you guys think of that? And then we'd all be like, or people would say stupid stuff. And then somebody would be like, what if you raped him? You know, and like add this feedback. And I think I raised my hand and I don't remember what I said, but I was like, that's a dumb idea because, and then I said, why don't you go this way? And I remember Irma turning around and looking at me. And then because she can't see, like squinting, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is this girl?" And then afterward, we talked a couple times, and she watched me, and she was like, "I want you on my show in November." I was like, "Okay, who are you?"
That's cool.
And so she was the first person to book me, and then after that, things started sort of happening very quickly. But quickly for like doing shows around town that people haven't had you on before.
Yeah.
So not like. Oh, and then we were in El Paso. No, I only started traveling really this year.
Yeah, well, that's very good because I mean, you 2.5 years, and I mean, it's good that you're. I mean, I say this all the time. It's like you got to be on shows at a certain point because you can't just keep doing mics, and you don't learn from them after a certain point. Because you plateau and you end. What happens is you just end up writing jokes for comics.
Yeah.
And then you bring them to a show and you're like, do I really like this? Or was I just trying to pander to this gaggle of people I have mixed feelings about?
Yeah.
I think the first year it was really like that was my community, was the open mic scene. Like I was sort of ingrained in it. And then I found the Tiger and that sort of just replaced it for me. Like I get a lot more out of the sessions that we have together than anything.
Oh, I would recommend to anyone if they're moving to San Antonio to do comedy is like be a part of the Blind Tiger because like that's really, I mean, it's a really good community you have.
That or start your own and call it the Death Jaguar.
Yeah. Do it. And we'll fight in the streets.
Death Jaguar, Mute Cheetah.
Do some open mics to figure out your stage presence, but like,
Well, and like I feel like a lot of people are like, how do I become a part of the Tiger? And I'm like, dude, work on your set first. Like you started comedy 2 months ago. Like just work on yourself, and figure out what you want to talk about. and maybe go past a dick joke or two, and then be like, and then come support the room, and then see if you're about it, because it's not really for everyone. Honestly, a lot of people get turned off with like Mel yelling at the bar, or like having to wait for a drink, or get frustrated with the kids running around. And I mean, I don't like kids either.
Peter was not a fan of the children last night.
I was, I mean, I've said this on like...
He's legally required to tell the parents to stay 100 yards away from them.
I saw that about you. But...
Come on, you had to know, man. That was an easy... Come on.
I was sitting in a mushroom booth being like, ma'am, excuse me, I just have to let you know.
Yeah, please.
Control your kid, or I will.
An eggplant parmesan, please. Have you had the food there?
No.
Okay, so
we were
ordered
warned it was very bad.
Well, Chris Grulin was like, and it smelled bad too. I passed by a table. I was like, what is that smell?
Yeah.
I was like, what are they putting in this food?
But we also reached that point where we're like, man, I would have killed for chicken fingers last night.
Oh yeah.
Nah.
Like the last thing we ate before we got on stage was like just two tiny tacos.
Two tiny tacos
like
at
some
3
taco
o'clock
shack.
at night.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I didn't eat until then, and before I got on stage, and I was kind of delirious on stage. I was like, we're gonna see how this goes.
Yeah.
But no, I had such a fun time in your room.
Good.
Really, thank you for having us.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just me, it was everybody else. We vote about everything.
yeah. It's you, and I mean, there's
a lot of us, but like
there aren't like... Are there main people who like have a lot of control over everything?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I was talking to Larry about this, and Larry was just like, like, oh no, it's not how, So how does it
like,
run?
yes.
Yeah.
No, we're supposed to be. The idea is it's a co-op.
Yeah.
But very much there are people that have a final say.
Yes.
Yeah, and like Jay White Cotton, which. You guys didn't meet. He didn't come out last night. Mm-hmm. He's one of the original founders. And Larry was one of the originals, and some other people that were in other cities, like some people are in Seattle and stuff like that. So we're kind of spread out, but yeah, I do a lot of the promotional stuff, and I do a lot of the organization and things like that. But everybody, it's everybody's room in the sense that you want to do something, pitch it. What do you want to do, and that's how a lot of things get done. Like, you want to be more involved, what do you want to do? And it's kind of like understood. So everybody does as much as they want to do, and we don't force anything on anyone in that sense. So it's pretty like choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Is there anything else you like about the San Antonio scene in particular?
I think that it's, and a lot of people would disagree, but I think that it's more burgeoning of sorts. Like, we're starting to get more positive traction, and I feel like some things set us back every now and then, but that's with any scene.
I guess if you could like wave your like a magic wand, and like tomorrow something could be fixed to improve the scene, what would be the first thing you do?
I guess I would make the club support
the local
acts in the scene that have put the work in, and not only the work in, but that are funny.
Well, yeah, that should be a priority.
And I don't mean, and I'm not talking shit about anybody that's there, but like the way that things were run when Rubone was in charge.
Yes.
Enemy of this podcast, Rubone,
but brought us all together.
Yeah,
it's true. So
he did. I mean, he did. The way that he used to box people out and stuff, and like the negative energy that he would put into everything. I mean, I spend a lot of time thinking, like, if I hadn't fallen out with him very hard, would I have an opening weekend at the club? Would I be featuring? Would I be doing guest spots and things like that? Because that was the track that I was on before he and I had a very big blowout.
Yeah.
Now, do you like playing that room? Is it a fun room to play?
It's an airport hangar.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. I knew that before coming to San Antonio, because I talked to someone in New York who played that room, and I was like, oh, if it's like 500 people and sound doesn't travel, sounds like not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but the thing is, that's the club.
That's the club,
So in that aspect, I'm like, dude, yeah, I want to be a part of the club. And I think that a lot of people would discount me as a comic because I'm under the stairs or whatever.
Right, you're like in the alternative scene. But like that's the thing. I mean, I've said this multiple times, but like New York City, like the DIY scene, alternative scene, like it's taking over and really, and some people would argue it's bigger than the club scene. And I have a lot more fun in those sorts of scenes too.
Well, and then, but at the same token, I'm always like, okay, well then why am I getting booked out of town? And you know, why is the historic Aztec theater, why do I do their crowd warming sometimes? You know, if I'm so terrible, like, I don't know, man. But I think that I have a lot against me being a woman and being outspoken and I've kind of reached a point. I was talking about this with Larry the other day, is that I've reached a point where I'm just kind of calling people on their bullshit because I'm an old lady, you know, like I don't.
Well, I was gonna say because you and Larry were razzing each other a little bit because he said comedian yesterday.
Comedian,
obviously jokingly by him.
Yes, yeah.
You know, we noticed obviously sexism is very rampant in comedy and well, the world, and so we know in our scene there's a very small amount of women that come out and do it, and we obviously wish there were more.
Yeah, it's a sausage fest at every open mic.
Yeah,
what's smaller than a sausage?
City.
It's like tiny wiener.
Yeah,
fest,
like Vienna sausages.
Yeah, like those, like little ones at a party.
Little toothpicks sticking out of them.
Those
cocktail weenies.
Cocktail weenie. That's what I was looking for. Cocktail weenie fest.
Oh yeah, but definitely. I mean, the first time that I went up at LOL, oh my god, I was the only chick. I was the only woman.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, where is everybody? Yeah. Cool. And and that doesn't now there are more women, which is dope. I just wish that they there are a few that are writing with people that they don't know who they are and they're writing their jokes for them. And I think that I'm going to get on a soapbox. I think
please
that some female comics rely on shock too much. And it's write a joke.
Yeah.
So
they say something filthy just to make sure that they
filthy, oh, I can say this because I have a microphone.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, I'm
it's cute coming from me.
Yeah, and I'm like, shut up. But in the same token, the first few months that I did comedy, this guy who's pretty big in the scene pulled me aside and he was like, "Nobody wants to hear about your vagina," and I was like, cool.
How many dick jokes did that guy have?
Also, just statistically speaking, most men like listening about vaginas.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird.
I want to see it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
See no evil, hear no evil.
I just feel like it's a constant thing, and I try to be nice, but a lot of shit pisses me off.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I mean, I get very angry all the time.
My Twitter is just me being snarky all the time, just angry at whatever. And then I do a lot of saved drafts because I'm like, somebody called me out, and he's probably going to listen to this. Somebody called me out about a tweet the other day, and he snapshotted it and sent it, and he's like, "What's this about?" And I was like, "It's about you."
Well, Guy, thank you for the listen. Thank you for the listen. Please like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe. That's TWOMIC to Mike Minima.
Yeah, there we go.
All podcasting platforms.
I was like, oh my God, nobody's ever done that to me before. I like this feeling.
That actually happened to me on the reverse side where I was a guest on a podcast that records, they record in a different restaurant every episode.
We'll shout it out right now. Out in Westchester with our friend Frank Pellegrino. Liz Wizadowski.
Booker at Lucy's Laugh Lounge. But I was a guest on that podcast and I shared it. I promoted it. And then someone who told me that I was a bad person because I went to an open mic that had one person who was telling just really, transphobic
and rapey jokes and
making everyone uncomfortable. He told me every time he comes to that venue, there's always someone, there's always a vibe that makes him uncomfortable. And I don't know why you put up with that. I'm like, dude, I don't associate with everyone at an open mic.
Yeah.
You know, that's like saying, well, you're a terrorist because you went to an airport that had a terrorist in it. I'm just using the same thing.
All those people who died on 9/11 were terrorists.
Yeah. That's
association. But anyway.
It's something that we keep repeating is comedy doesn't have an HR, dude. We don't have anybody to report to or to resign to or to, it's ridiculous. It sucks.
Yeah, our way we get things done is through battles on Facebook to try and shame
Facebook
each other,
wars
which gets me nowhere. I try to stop. But if I see something ridiculous, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyway, he just like, he tweeted out like, it was something like, look at the guy who's recording a podcast in a restaurant when he said he was going to be Mr. Hollywood in a year. I'm like,
Did you say that?
No.
Anybody said that?
No, I was like, well, I don't know.
Peter,
he knows my comedic aspirations.
Peter,
And I was
just
like,
let me beat him up. Like that's why we're a
I
tag
shared
team.
the screenshot, not with him, but with like 5 people we mutually know. I was like, is he talking shit about me? Is he?
Yeah.
Is this about me? Because
Yeah.
I go to an open mic that has like a few bad apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that pissed me off though, that he was just like, I don't know why you associate with these people. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
why
but there are a lot of virtue signalers out there that are like, yo, I don't do this.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm like,
respect women. Let's go on a date.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm
I'm
like,
a really nice
easy.
guy.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah. I don't know, man.
So anyway.
But yeah, LOL.
LOL.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
airplane hanger.
I want to go up. I think I want to go. I want to do more there. It's frustrating, but it's because it's the club. Like you guys have a club,
Oh,
right?
we do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like obviously my dream is to do the Cellar and get past there and be a
Yeah,
regular.
I mean the dream in New York still is to like, I got
Cellar,
past
and
the
then-
one. I
and
got
then
past the one
obviously-
club, and I would hope to get past the more, just because it's a nice credit to have.
Yeah.
Like as much as it's fun to do, and I love doing like really small, intimate, alternative shows. They're not credits, but like when you're at a club, you can say like, oh, I play that club. But, so it's always nice to know that you do a club, because it's kind of like this status that's important, but
And leads to more club work.
Yeah, because like do you have a lot of out of town headliners come in for LOL?
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of people. I forget, like Margaret Cho is here at the end of the month, and I was like, that would be nice. I think I tweeted at her like, please pick me, because that's a whole new wave of comics, or I guess comics or whatever. They're just asking. They're asking headliners, hey.
No, that's how like
pick
so many
me.
people get on shows now. Like I had like in New York City, like if you know someone with a show, you just have to like, and if they think you're funny, there's a good chance you just have to reach out to them, and they'll be like, yeah, I'll consider you.
In college, I tried for a month straight tweeting at Hannibal Buress because he was doing a performance at Cornell. Like, hey man, come to my apartment, and you can come smoke pot. And we'll have a set. Never responded. I literally like every day. I'm like, I used to ever start with, dear Mr. Hannibal Buress, please come to my apartment.
Yo, Hannibal, still got that joint waiting.
We have a friend. Well, shout out to her. She's a listener, Erin McLaughlin, who just getting into stand up. Very funny. She's a crazy fangirl for Nathan Fielder, like to the point where it's just like, this is a bit creepy. But
Where like if you flip flop the genders, she would be in jail.
Yeah, it actually is the case. But she got a new Twitter for like her as a stand up, and her first tweet was just at Nathan Fielder and then nothing else. I was just like, yeah, hopefully. It's funny. We actually did like the two of us. We did like a little. We both write like satirical online web sort of stuff. We had this bit where we wanted to parody like couple Tinders. Like there's some people, there's like people who make Tinders as a couple. They're like looking
Vanessa
for a third.
and Josh's amazing adventure
and we
together.
did that, but we made a double LinkedIn. So it was like two people on a LinkedIn that were both looking for one job to do.
That's
And it was
awesome.
like, we were just paralleling it. And then like, it's a public LinkedIn and you can find it. Just look up like Peter and Aaron. I'm pretty sure I'll probably link it. But, someone who called themselves Nathan Fielder on LinkedIn followed that. And she was convinced that this was Nathan Fielder. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think he's on LinkedIn. I don't think he needs to peruse LinkedIn at all. But
I think one of the first things that someone told me, like again, people like men, I'm not people, I'm gonna say men. Men are always like, this is a rule. And I'm like, what? And someone told me within the first 6 months, like, you never ask a headliner to be on their show. You never reach out to a headliner and say, hey, can I be on your show? And that was like, so to me, like this whole like, oh, I reach out to them on Messenger, or I send them a message, and then like I'm like, how'd you get that show? Oh, I emailed them.
yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna blacklist you if they don't want to do your show.
You're just putting yourself out there. I think
they'll just ignore it.
Yeah.
I know. So And now I'm like, what is this thing where we can email them? I don't know. Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah, but you guys get a lot of like names at the Blind Tiger.
We get a couple. Yeah. I mean, we've had like a lot. We've been lucky. Jay Whitecotton actually. He's toured with Stanhope and stuff. Doug Stanhope. I don't know if you know who Doug Stanhope is.
We love Doug Stanhope. He's actually coming up by us. Actually, the end of the month.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Okay. I have no idea what this is.
That's how I met Jay Whitecotton. Is I saw him opening for Stanhope because Stanhope's one of my favorites. And we used to see him multiple times whenever he was touring. So I knew him as a comic before. Like he's a friend and a mentor now, and he's always like, treat me like a friend. And I'm like, but I know you as a comic, like I have that respect or whatever. So Jay knows a lot of people. So that's how we get that reputation. And then like whoever we have, they usually like vet us, and they're like, hey, I'm going to tell my friend about you. Like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then suddenly, Hari Kondobolo is there and he's like selling out and it's dope.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of these people from LOL? Do you like reach out to them or
no?
Okay.
No.
I don't know why I got that impression.
LOL. Sometimes we have drop-ins from LOL, but not lately.
Okay.
No.
So because I think Larry mentioned something about that, so that's why
I don't know. Everything's starting to blend together.
Not in the last few months,
We've talked
but
so much.
I mean, it's been like I want to say, oh my god, I just forgot his name. But yeah, he came after his stint, but a lot of it we have to keep secret too, because there used to be this weird thing where LOL thought we were like the competition.
Yeah.
And they were like, you don't say who comes here, so that became a rule. Like we couldn't say who came because LOL would get mad at them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some interesting aesthetic to that too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you don't know who will drop by.
I kind of understand it. Like if you have that person and then they go to another state.
If you exclusively book Patton Oswalt and you don't want people to be able to see them at a rival club, like you want them to come to your club, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I totally get that. But at the same time, I'm like, we can't compete with you. You're an airport hanger.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I mean, like the shows we do, they're free.
Yeah, that helps.
So, but like I like that kind of aesthetic of like, oh, you don't know who's gonna drop by.
Yeah,
which is
and
cool.
we have people that they just hear about us and they drop by, which is cool. And
that's why a lot of people go to comedy clubs. It's like, oh, somebody so and so might drop by. Now we get that a lot in New York, like particularly like the Cellar and the Strip. It's like, at any moment, Bill Burr could drop in. Like my friend who was having a show had Bill Burr drop in. And Bill Burr's like, can I do 10 minutes? He's like, yes, you can.
Yes, yes, you can.
Crazy. Like these people could just like tell these people like, you know what, I'm going to do a show here. Get your shit out of here.
Do you mind?
I'm going to bump you guys all the way till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But but we do get it. We just I'm like, hey, famous people, we haven't had one in a while.
Mm-hmm. Come on down.
I can't think of dude's name.
If you're a famous person, you're listening to this podcast.
Hold on.
Brian Posehn.
Yes, that's exactly who I was thinking
nailed it. Larry said it last night.
Okay,
yeah. I'm like, yes. Posehn has been a couple of times, and super nice guy.
I was going to do his impression. You said earlier that Doug Stanhope's a big favorite of yours. I guess before you got into comedy yourself, who were like who were your like comedic idols?
Stanhope was he was like right up there.
Yeah.
Just because he can get away with so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's great. I have more of an appreciation for Patton Oswalt, but I used to super love him back then. But now I'm like, oh, you're aging. It's cute, like because he's like, I was talking about being middle aged and 50. I saw him at one of the Majestic or whatever recently. When I was a little girl, I was really into comedy. I would get in a lot of trouble for watching HBO specials and stuff because I would repeat the jokes.
Showcases.
At the dinner table.
Yeah. No, my mom would be like, what did you, because I think the first joke I told my mom was a Howie Mandel joke because he had that special. I'm old. But it was, how do you get a yeast infection? You fuck the Pillsbury Doughboy. So I told that to my mom like when I was like 5, and she was like, wow. I'm like, HBO.
It's not television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that. And then, I remember seeing Eddie Murphy Raw. I remember seeing a bunch of stuff. We had what is it, Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
We had her record. We had Red Fox's records. Like comedy was a big thing. We watched Saturday Night Live together every week. Every Saturday it was like, all right, like snacks, and we would watch it. And like my favorite segment was Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. I thought it was so fucking funny. It's comedy was just a big deal. And then it sort of evolved, like starting adolescence, I was like, I'm going to be a poet.
Yeah, I used to draw cartoons that were just rip-offs of like Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
Because those are the comics I loved. And I was like, I want to be a comic book artist.
Yeah, like I can do this. I can rhyme, and then it kind of morphed into novel writing, and then I do a lot of screenplay and things like that.
Oh, do you have any completed screenplays, or is it?
I have 4 completed screenplays, and I'm rewriting one right now.
Have you submitted to any festivals or competitions?
Yeah, I've done a few things through. What is it? Without a Box, who was no longer around, and Film Freeway, but Austin Film Festival. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from that, and then some Spotlight one in Hollywood. That's an international one, which I got not very good feedback, but lately. I've been doing Austin Film Festival, San Antonio Film Festival, submitting to Amazon Studios, which stopped their submissions this year.
Yeah.
So
it's funny
like
because I saw that on their website. Like, we're not taking submissions, but here's our tool, which is basically just like, a billboard to help you write your screenplays.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look at the movies that you're producing. Like Neon Demon sucked.
It's all these streaming now. Like, they just keep putting out garbage movies.
It's just garbage movies.
Yeah, like them and Netflix are like, nothing's good.
And I will watch, I love movies. Like a lot of the time I sit there and I will watch something, and then I like make sure it plays all the way through so that if I like it, I can be like, hey, husband, do you want to watch this? It might be good, but like I know it's good and I just want to see it again. So I'm a movie person. Like I used to manage movie theaters too. So
Cool. So I guess I got to ask you, do you think you're like rooted in San Antonio? Is this like where you think you're going to be for a while?
I go back and forth a lot, especially lately, especially being close to Larry Garza. Like he's one of my good friends. Like like even outside of the comedy thing, like I can go to him with a problem and we can hash it out or whatever. And he can try to dad me. That's stupid. And like, so Larry's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
We're similar ages, and he works really hard to cultivate the scene, and I work alongside him to cultivate that scene. But it has its limitations, and a lot of people like the guy that's headlining Happy Endings tonight is one of my favorites, George Anthony, and he was in San Antonio and now he's in Austin.
Yeah.
And he's popping. He's on like every show, and the talent, like whatchamacallit, like executives are going to Austin and they're picking up talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like the place you have to be.
People are scouting because it's a little bigger name wise.
And they only go twice a year, and they still pick up people for Toronto, for whatchamacallit.
Or just for Montreal.
Just for laughs, Montreal, and things like that.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, that's a very coveted festival.
And Houston is popping. Like, I don't know if you guys have been to Houston, but like I just spent the weekend in Houston, and their shows are packed and it's dope and everything. And like, I had a great time, but they don't even have talent seekers there. Yeah. And like, and I feel like that's what I was talking with Larry. I'm like, dude, how do we get people out here? And he's like, they're not going to come here. And I'm like, well, what do I do? And he's like, you got to do what's best for you. So
you have to call the House of Urban Planning and Development and restructure San Antonio.
Yeah.
Get people to come out here.
So what are your comedy goals for the future?
I'm trying to build an hour that I like. I think I have 30 minutes that I like and 45 that I could add that's dirty. I've headlined a few things. That's cool. I want an hour that I like and I want to record. I would like to... I'm currently adapting a screenplay into a novel that I really like, that's about San Antonio comedy and about comedy in general, but rooted in San Antonio. And so I'd like to sell that book and just be writing, and I'd like to do screenplay. So touring would be great too. I just want to be a writer. I've always wanted to be a writer.
That's what I want to be. I want to be a writer.
And
I want to be a firefighter.
Shit.
I was slowly ready to quit doing stand-up because
so you might not listen to our podcast. So the day of Peter's big comic
well,
strip.
I just want to like preface that like I really want to be a TV writer, and that's like my big comedy goal. So I've been putting a lot of focus into like getting scripts done rather than like, going up all the time in New York City and like grinding it out. I mean, I've been at it for like, if you want to go back to when I first got on stage, I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been like, occasionally going on stage from like 16 to 20 to like doing it a lot from 20 to like now. Now I was starting to falter off, but we'll get into Sean's side of the story.
So we record the podcast and we're talking about like, these auditions coming up. Obviously, good luck.
Yeah.
And Peter's like, I don't really know if I'm into stand-up comedy.
Oh no.
I don't know if it's for me. I just don't know. I think I'm more of a writer, and I don't know if I'm really.
I think I heard that.
Oh, you might have.
Yeah.
We might have been on the same episode. And he does this whole thing, and then like 2 seconds, I was like, I'm going to do stand up every single night. The minute he gets past.
Well, so that we recorded that the same day that my comic strip audition was.
Later that night,
and then for some reason I got passed, which I didn't think was going to happen. I was like, shit, maybe this is a talent that I'm not taking that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should put some more focus into it, but. But I think the end goal is to still do TV writing.
Yeah, no, TV writing is fascinating. I used to teach creative writing, a creative writing program here in San Antonio for high school writers ages 9 through 8, or ages 9th grade through senior. Right.
Yeah.
And I got to take them to Austin Film Festival every year.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get to that.
It's a writers' festival.
It's crazy. I
met so many writers in television, and I also met this dope podcaster whose name escapes me right now. But like, anyway, it's just talking to the writers and like seeing how they make their living. Fiction podcasting is a really big thing that is like you can make a extremely well living doing. And then the screenwriters that I met, I don't know if you guys like X-Files.
I love X-Files.
Okay, there's this one X-Files episode called Home, where it's the inbred stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like inbred, it's inbreeding and gross, and there's like a girl with no legs, and she's just being used to like be a sex object. I met the writer, and I was like, shook his hand, took a picture, and I was like,
this guy's really fucked up.
You're so messed up. And like, he's one of the American Horror Story writers. And so I was just a nerd for all the writers. I was like, oh my God, I want your job. I want your job. I want your job.
Yeah.
And then some of them did stand up, and I was like, hey, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck no, I forgot his name. Oh man, this is embarrassing. But no, he's a guy who was on tour, but then had to stop doing it because he got a job writing for some like ABC comedy.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm not gonna, like all he did. Oh, Tommy Johnigan.
Tommy Johnigan,
who's a very funny guy. He's like a guy who's just like he's like a laugh every line. Like he's incredible at it.
Yeah, laugh per minute is up there.
Yeah. And essentially he did a lot of touring, and then he got like a TV writing job, and he just stopped touring.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll get it back into it at some point. Yeah.
And people have been asking me a lot lately, like, what is your goal? And I'm like, dude, I want to record an album. I want to tour, but I also want to sell a book. I want to write for TV. And I think that they all go along, but like, I'm also late in the game starting this. Like I didn't start stand up for a long time because I was afraid of what would come out of my mouth. Like I was
fair.
like, am I going to still be married? Because a lot of people like some of my husband's friends have blocked me because they get mad at the jokes that I make,
Really?
and then also like I talk about everything, I don't really care because to me, everything, you should laugh at everything. So I don't know, man. And then I also had this weird fear of like getting roasted. Like if I don't know if I was just bullied a lot when I was little.
No, but I know what you're saying. It doesn't happen too much, but when it does, I kind of get a bit bothered. Like when someone bombs at an open mic and the host is just like, what was that?
Yeah.
Like,
I think I was afraid of getting heckled that somebody would be like, shut up, you fucking fat bitch, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that it would just attack me. Like it would leave me vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are going to say you're literally exposing yourself to everyone.
Exactly.
Like, there's no way to like you see people get nervous. A lot of times they'll cover up their like chest or something. Just like that's like a protective instinct.
Yeah. Like suddenly they box themselves
There's
in.
a lot of videos of me doing that.
Oh, I'm aware. I've
pictures.
taken hundreds of pictures of you doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm late starting, and so now I'm just kind of hitting it hard. You know,
grinding.
Where do you think you'd record your album?
where would I record it? I don't know. Hopefully the Tiger.
I think
don't know.
that would be a cool place. Like that's like a place. Like to be honest, like if I ever did a special, like I would want to go. And the thing I love most about stand up, and the thing I think is really cool that some people hone is like the idea of just the everyman aspect of stand up. Like people go on stage and they like strip all the fanfare of being like, oh, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
And they go up on stage and it's almost as if this person was one of these people in the crowd that got up and told their story. And I like that a lot. Like when you strip the fanfare, because then you realize like it's a person who lives very similar to us, talking about these things that we all have in our frame of reference in a way that a lot of people have never thought about because they have that instinct. And I would like, if I were to film a special, I'd love to do it in a place like the Tiger, or a place where like that room has that feeling of like someone going up without the fanfare of this
Stage
is stand-up,
lit,
you know?
low ceilings, good sound and dope crowd. I like that it's for comedy.
It is for comedy.
Yeah. It's not like, oh my God, like, are there birds up there?
Think of that and then compare that to Kevin Hart's Philadelphia Eagles stadium concert where he comes out with a golden microphone. I'm like, that's not what I like about stand-up. You're just kind of showing how elevated you are from people. But
but I like the money he probably got from that.
That's probably like,
I'll sell my soul for money. I don't care.
yeah.
like I did a lot of house shows in college. Like we produced a lot of house shows, and like those that had the same feeling of like, oh, here's like a college student just like us coming out of the corner and doing all these jokes.
We've done them here. Like it's fun and people pay. And I mean, Austin, they have a show called Backyard Sluts, and they fill it with people in the back. There are people that want that content. I mean, we were talking about don't tell comedy, like
which
people
I
like
love.
the secret, like, because it's like not released until the day of. Which cracked me up. Irma, tell me where it is. I'm like, no,
You're gonna tell everyone.
Yes.
It was a shame because I wanted to know, and I was like, she'll tell us because we're outsiders, but no, not with Irma in the car.
No, she'll tell everyone. And I love her for that. I like how she's like, no one tells me what to do. But yeah, I do want to clarify. Larry was giving me crap about the comedian thing because I have struggled a lot to just be a comic. And I feel like I keep getting into fights with older ladies that want the comedian title. I really do think it's an age divide where late night show 60s ladies are like, comedian is like, so it's like, it's because what we are. And I'm like, shut up. I just want to be a comic.
I don't want to be treated any differently. All right. Here's a good question. If the sun is hot, why is space cold?
I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Listen, we got to keep on their toes. Listen, I had another go-to question, but I got an answer I didn't like on the last podcast. So I'm like, I was like, all right, which one was better looking, me or Peter?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys are too young, honestly. I have a thing where I taught high school.
If you just said me, then Peter and I would be tied in the questioning, and we're okay.
Yeah, he asked that to Patrick, and Patrick said like, oh, well, Peter's better put together.
You don't even have fucking shoes on.
It's hot outside.
It's hot out. My feet are so hot.
Sean for both the BarbacoaCore podcast and then recording Patrick, just put his feet on the table.
Oh my God.
I like to get comfortable. Given. I've been told this before. I'm at my best when I'm comfortable on stage, which is usually putting my feet up.
I mean,
are those chanclas? Oh, sorry. Are those sandals? Are you wearing Nike sandals?
Nike sandals. Very comfortable.
Wow.
Nike sponsored the podcast and said I buy these all the time because they're like,
wow, those look like they've seen some.
They've seen some traction.
Yeah.
This is my. I'm hungover on a Sunday, and I'm gonna walk 2 miles to the dining hall on campus. Sandals.
Yeah. So what time are we at, Sean?
We're at 55 minutes.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought
why we got to the dumb questions at the end.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Peter asked the real ones. I'm just here.
He's just around.
Yeah.
It's my tag along. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm the guy who has all the equipment, and then they're like, I need him.
But
are these all naked women around us?
I couldn't be able to tell because, like, some of them are obviously.
We are surrounded by. We're in a conference room now, and we're surrounded by.
What an art choice this is.
I thought that was a vagina, but I think it's her bathing suit.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
this
it is.
a-
It's clearly she's clothed. They're all clothed. They're just like unique.
They're just
They're just
clothed-
wearing
Like
Oddly
a gothic
shaped.
horror
bathing
suit.
bathing suits.
Peter,
They're
if you
all
could-
very flat
They
chested.
have the artist tag on it. I might as well read
Oh
it.
yeah,
You wanna
actually,
just
let me
read
let me
it
get a
off?
read. I think they're for sale. I think like these
All right,
are.
let's
okay,
buy one.
So this is shout out to Linda Lang and her painting Opalia, 48 by 36. It's oiled and mixed media. It's going for $1,700.
Oh my
All
God.
right, let's get one.
No one knows what these paintings look like. I don't even think you
it's
could find
clearly a
them.
woman's body with some sort
It's
of
like
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated minus the tits.
yeah.
It's Sports Illustrated plus the artsy fartsy part, which there is none. But anyway, Tori,
Anyway,
Low
Tori,
lighting.
thank you so much for being
you've
on the
been a
podcast.
great
Thanks for having
guest.
me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
I hope you guys have fun. I hope we have a good crowd tonight.
Oh, I'm excited.
Really
This is
looking
gonna be
forward
fun.
to
Get
doing the show.
one more show in, and win
One more
lose,
show.
we're gonna booze.
Hell yeah,
I'm
hell
excited
yeah.
of that.
But anyway, I've been Peter Clark Deutsch.
I've been Sean Barry. Oh wait, let's do one more plug for Tori, where people can find you.
Oh, shit, yeah.
You can wait, like on social media.
Social media, yeah,
Yeah,
social
social
media.
media.
On Facebook, Tori Pool, no E's, TORIPOOL.
Pool like you swim in.
Exactly. On Instagram, Tori Bori Allegory. Sorry, I like it. And on
it too.
Twitter, it's Bori Pool, BORIPOOL. You can also find me at toripool.com.
All right.
Uh,
Well, we don't need to do our plugs. We've done it 100
Yeah.
times. Guys, thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another episode of
to Mike Minimum.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Bye.